Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm professional astrologer Alex Zagata, and I would like to make a video titled Which Planet Rules Astrology and Why. Here is my channel on Ancient and Chinese Astrology. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. Here is my channel in Rumble with the same title, and here is my website on Ancient and Chinese Astrology. Please pay attention to this quote because it will be important as time progresses in this video. Alright, so I chose this image as a representation of what I'm trying to convey with this video from the free website Pixabay. I always give thanks to them. And this is an image of, we can say, I don't know whether this is human hair or something, whether this is hair or something, but the way I see it is, we can see it as divine light, golden colored, one of the highest vibrations coming down from the sky, from above, from the higher worlds, and eventually taking form, taking shape in a book, or this knowledge that was orally transmitted and then was written down in a book or in a clay tablet or whatever. Alright, so this is my as I said, so now someone could say, why is it warranted to make a video on this topic, given that it should be self-explanatory which planet rules astrology? Well, it depends. In general, yes, it is. Nevertheless, there are many people who wrongly believe that another planet rules astrology. So, and there are reasons for that. I will get into some of them as the video goes on. So, first of all, of course, we should start with what is astrology? What is the definition of astrology? And what is the etymology? What is the origin of the word astrology? So, astrology comes from astro and logos. Astro means a star, and logos, it's a difficult, it's not a word, it's a concept, because this logos is mentioned in the Bible. At the beginning it was the word. It's incorrect, it's incomplete to translate it. It's because logos is eternal truths, the plan of the ultimate creative force. This plan was perverted by the mainstream monotheistic religions. I'm not gonna debate this here, but astrology shows this revelation, this unconcealment of this logos, this speech of this being, of the creator, through the planets and the stars, through its own language. This is what we are studying, the meaning of life. Astronomy studies the physical properties of the planets, etc., the distances, the magnitude, etc., the magnitudes, etc. Astrology studies the meanings of these, how they pertain to us as humans, to the planet, to the individuals, or to the individual countries, or to the individual businesses, or even pets, animals. So, as an example, for yourself to see logos, a good definition here from Encyclopedia Britannica: the divine reason implicit in the cosmos, ordering it, giving it form. You see why it's incomplete to call it? It was the word. Word is incomplete. The divine wisdom manifest, Merriam-Webster, manifest in the creation, government, and redemption of the world. Yes, it can mean word, speech, etc., utterance, message, but at its most basic. So whoever translated the Bible did a poor job right from the very beginning, from the first sentence. All right. So what I'm saying is if you think about it on the level of essence, and this is how you should be thinking about if you want to understand this divine science and knowledge, astrology itself is already telling us who its ruler is, logos. So which planet rules speech or even writing? So which planets could rule astrology? There are a number of them, 3 of them, but of course the planet that rules astrology is Mercury and nobody else. Mercury comes first. Mercury is always he's going to be the ruler of astrology, and the reason why is very simple. If you look at the significations of the ruler of astrology, namely Mercury, one of its significations is speech, foreign languages. What is astrology if not a language? It rules the brain. Mercury rules writing. It rules teaching. It rules education. It rules science along with Saturn. So speech again, logos, one of its basic meanings. And Mercury also rules literally the tongue as an organ. We speak languages through the tongue. So if you have an afflictions of Mercury or of the first house, depending on etc., you could have problems with the organ, with the tongue. Also, from another perspective, which planet signifies the king or the queen or the ultimate ruler? The sun rules the king, the moon rules the queen, but as an ultimate ruler, it's always the sun, because the sun is the supreme god. All religions are based on this. So the point is, the sun is, we have 7 planets. That's why we have 7 days of the week, each ruled by one of the planets, and the sun stands in the middle. 3 precede the sun, 3 follow the sun. The sun is in the middle. Everyone wants to be around the sun. Everyone wants to be around the ruler, the emperor. So, which planet is always closest to the emperor? Astronomically, which planet is always closest, can never be more than 28 degrees from the sun? Mercury is the answer. So this is from another perspective. And who does Mercury rule? Mercury rules the fool. In other words, the one that tells jokes for the pleasure and amusement of the emperor, of the king. And also the fools are privy to very, very important information, secrets of the state, and the fool should be very intelligent. Actually, fools are intelligent, very, very smart. They should be able to gesture and to mimic and to convey information in unusual ways, in decisive moments when they're entertaining guests. And also, of course, the astrologer, because astrology is ruled by Mercury. And again, I'm going to show you Benjamin Franklin's quote. Benjamin Franklin, inventor, writer, politician, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, also a diplomat. Take a look. Formerly, again, no prince would make war or peace, nor any general fight in battle. In short, no important affair was undertaken without first consulting an astrologer. Again, Mercury, the intellect, the planet's closest to the sun, to the ruler. This is how shall I say? How shall I put it? This is the matrix. This is reality. This is how this reality is structured. So now an important point comes here, because many people they believe wrongly that Uranus rules astrology. No, that cannot be. First of all, the reason they believe it is because of this idea and belief, not fact, that Uranus, Neptune, Pluto were to be the higher octaves of what was it, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Nonsense. Those astrologers, those authors, not all of them were astrologers. They were into the occult, etc. They were expressing beliefs and hopes that someday humanity would reach this enlightened level, and would live in eternal peace and and harmony and love, and great ideas. Folks, take a look around you. We are the far evolution. Are you serious? With concentration camps, with central bank digital currencies, with limitations where to travel, what to speak, limitations on free speech, etc. The lockdowns, etc. What evolution? It's people to blame. People for allowing this force to manipulate and to dictate. But the point is, what higher octaves? There are no higher octaves. So this is one of the reasons why Uranus cannot rule astrology. The others I already mentioned, because we're talking on the level of essence. Someone trying saying this to a classicist or to a religious person who is open-minded. I'm not talking about the sheep and try telling them the word of God is obsolete. Because the word logos, there were no advanced technology back then, in a way we could say. So Uranus did not exist, and therefore Uranus could not have superseded Mercury. That's wrong, because the Bible and other books that have survived and are the most read books, they have survived for a reason, because there is some wisdom that can be gleaned from them. You can't just say, you know what, Mercury is no longer logos. You can't do that. Not just with in the case of Mercury, with other planets as well. And this brings me to this. I had a friend of mine. He died, unfortunately. He was much older. He was an astrologer, an American modern astrologer, and he said that as astrology teaches, Venus rules women. Venus rules beauty, etc., grace, and is being demure, not a harsh word, etc. You know. And he said that modern women, especially American women, they're not ruled by Venus, because Venus is pure, as I said, demure, etc., natural. Whereas modern women, American women, he said, are, and this vogue, so to say, has reached Eastern Europe and Bulgaria also for the past 36 years. Lots of, you know, silicone implants and artificial stuff placed into the body to conceal who they actually are. So his argument was that women are no longer ruled by Venus, they are ruled by Pluto, because modern women are not, modern American women, he said, are not, or Western women are no longer, so to say, they do not embody this essence of purity, of innocence, etc. They live to transform and control. This was his argument. There is definitely merit in that. However, by his merit, women have changed so much that they are no longer women in a way. So where is Venus? Where is Pluto? You following my drift? So he's changing this thinking, which is erroneous. It's trying to change the essence of this thing. In this case, women. We can discuss men and Mars, but that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose is to show you that if you start thinking in such a way, which is again erroneous, you will start changing the essence of a thing. A woman is a woman regardless whether she is painted or natural, etc. We can say that Venus is you know, afflicted, or Venus is somehow in its unnatural state in the chart, whether it's Venus is a nocturnal planet if someone is born during the day, and especially if Venus is above the horizon, and especially if it's in a masculine sign, etc. This afflicts Venus, but Venus is still Venus. So which is why women will always be ruled by Venus, and Mars will be and men will be ruled by Mars, regardless of other things that they do to their bodies externally, or to their character even. They could be perversions or whatever, but on the level of essence, things do not change. Which is why no other planet can ever replace Mercury as the ruler of astrology, and not just this is for Mercury, but for other significations for other planets. They are eternal. They're eternal because planets are eternal based on our human perspective, which is very limited while we're here on this planet. Speaking of this, I want you to appreciate the level of depth that I'm going with. I want you to for example, this is one of the major reasons why my videos are so long, because I want to provide sources. I want to make you think. I want to provoke you. And Seward is a British or English astrologer. She's a traditional astrologer. She specializes in horary, from what I know, and also somewhat in natal, but above all in horary. She teaches horary astrology, and she's a student of William Lilly, the most famous English astrologer of the 17th century. She is a follower of Lilly, and she published a paper called Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto: An Investigation into the Sources of Their Symbolism. I highly recommend this paper to any be it professional astrologer, student, or someone who is a hobbyist, etc. It is very detailed. This is her blog. There is an extract. It's copyrighted, so I can show the blog here and the extract, and there is an email here where you can order this. I purchased this, I don't remember, I think 13 years ago or something like that. This is the whole. I can only show the first page because again it's copyrighted, so I don't want to. So you see, it's the 82 pages. This is the contents. So it's really worth it. And I think she uses it was like £5 or £10 when I paid. I don't remember. She used the money to help, I think, some animals, as far as I remember, or the stray animals, or I don't remember, but it was used for this. Anyhow, it's worth it. She put a lot of time into this. It's so I highly recommend this. To see again one from a different perspective, to study the significations, how they are derived, and why Uranus cannot rule astrology. And because these trans-Saturnian planets, they affect society. They are generational planets. Their role in natal charts is very, very small. I stopped using them like 14 years ago or something. They have validity. I'm not saying they don't work. They work, but the validity is so small in natal charts that there are some exceptional cases where they stand up. But again, they can never amount to they can never rival the traditional 7 planets, because they can never rule signs. If you can't rule time, you're basically powerless. You can only act as transits and some minor techniques like solar arc, secondary progressions, etc. All right. One more thing, actually, a few more things. There are certain schools, traditional schools, of course. I'm doing ancient astrology, and that in this case from the Arabic period, where they give these tables. In astrology, there are special points in the chart that are called lots, that are incorrectly called Arabic lots or Arabic parts, that are mathematically calculated, derived from the chart. And for example, I have that's not the point, but I have a special consultation that deals with the spiritual path and the meaning of life of a given person, of the native. And in this consultation, I use various such spiritual lots. So 2 of the lots, for example, again, these are translations from ancient Arabic. 2 of the lots, they deal with the esoteric bent, so to say, interests of the native. So there are these tables, planetary tables, and each of the planets rules a certain esoteric subject. It can be some astrology or divination or face reading or divining by clouds, or by there's lots of such significations per the planets. So in this school, Mercury rules astrology, but also Jupiter. And to get back to this slide, which planets could rule astrology? Mercury always rules astrology, but in some schools, again, for example, in Indian astrology, there are some astrologers that use Jupiter more than Mercury to rule astrology. But if you look at the classical sources, above all, it's Mercury above all. For example, Varharamihira, very famous 6th century astrologer, he uses Mercury explicitly. That's not so important because they're minor, but it's always Mercury. Remember that. But also, there is a famous book on astrological magic, one of the most famous one, called the Picatrix, and it orders the planets by pairs, 3 pairs by 2 planets, and there is a 7th planet which cannot be assigned to a pair because the 3 pairs have already been taken up. So this 7th planet, as you might have figured it out, is Saturn. So Saturn is the planet that stands out. Why? Good question. Because Saturn is the highest planet. It's the most superior planet, which is the furthest planet, and it is closest to the divine. I mean, after the planets are the fixed stars, but in terms of the planets which we're discussing here, Saturn. So Saturn, one of its significations is the past and traditions, and so there are astrologers that also, not just Saturn is also somewhat associated with astrology, but also with the occult, because Saturn can rule magic. Also, again, it depends if the nativity inclines to that. But the point is that Saturn is the 3rd planet, along with Mercury is always first. Some astrologers mention Jupiter and some Saturn. But overall, ancient astrologers are absolutely unanimous that astrology is ruled by Mercury for the reasons I've been discussing. Again, these are just different ways of approaching this subject, but these ways are broader and they're not that astrological. For example, another example, is Dante Alighieri, very, very famous Italian medieval author, Divine Comedy, etc., etc. and he has a piece on the 7 liberal arts. Why 7? Again, because we have 7 planets. Each of the planets rules one of the days of the weeks, one of the so-called sins, one of the 7 of the miracles of the ancient world, etc., etc. And there is an Italian astrologer. I will show her, Margherita Fiorello. This is her blog. This is I'm not gonna. I can. Is we have an astrolabe.wordpress.com. Here is a translation of Dante. So Dante associates Saturn with astrology, and you can read the quote here. Because astrology is far higher than the others. As Aristotle says, a science is as high in nobility by virtue of the nobility of its subject and by virtue of its certainty. There is a famous traditional scholar, Titus Buckhart, who summarized Dante's text in the following way. You see the 7 planets. He said astronomy, but it's astrology. Well, there used to be one, but Dante means astrology here, not astronomy. Anyhow, this was not a subject in the. There was not such a big deal in the past, because astrologers actually, as I've explained, they had apprentices who did astronomical calculations, but the real deal was making judgments, delineating and predicting, making judgments about human life, about the native, about the king, the pope, the aristocrat, etc., the rival, etc., the wife, etc., etc. This is astrology, not astronomy. All right. One last thing is you have to differentiate between the rule of astrology. Sorry, this should be the ruler of astrology, which is Mercury, versus indications in the natal chart for studying astrology, this science, this knowledge, as well as practicing astrology as a profession. In other words, Mercury will always remain the ruler of astrology, but you can't say this one has a strong Mercury, he will be an astrologer, or this one has a weak Mercury, he will not be an astrologer, he or she, regardless. You can't say that. It's way too simplistic. You have to take a look at the whole chart. And in ancient astrology, what we do, not just, but above all, but also in Indian astrology, you have to look at the chart as a whole. You have to determine the eminence, the rank of the chart, how high the native can go, and then you can go to determining the profession of the native and whether the native will have one profession, 2 professions, etc., etc., etc. So the indications for studying and practicing astrology, ancient astrologers, they have left many of them in their works. I could make a video about this someday, and doing astrology as a profession is even more more is required of the chart to show this, not just having an interest in astrology, because you have to also take into account the topic of income, of finances, of wealth and poverty, where wealth will come from. This is also important. All right, so I thought I would make such a video because again, there are people who wrongly believe, and because people will come to me and say, I've been to an astrologer. Well, alright, what type of astrologer? If it's modern astrology, I don't want to hear it, basically, because unless the astrologer is really, really good, because I cannot tell you how many times I have had people come to me and say, I want you to rectify my chart. I had rectifications of this and this astrologer. I don't care the name of the astrologer. I care more about the school, whether it's traditional or not. And the rectification is wrong. Not just wrong. Forget about 10-15 minutes. I'm talking about a different ascendant, which changes the whole chart, the whole life of the native. So it's, in other words, if we cannot agree, so to say, on which planet rules astrology, we have to separate entirely. We have to draw a demarcation line between traditional or ancient astrology and any type of modern schools. And speaking of that, once this video was important to make, because once we've covered this topic, namely which planet rules astrology, and the answer, as I've said, is Mercury, the next topic, the topic of my next video will be which house or which houses rule astrology and why. And while with Mercury, there is basically, if you exclude modern astrological schools, which are again like a puddle compared to the ocean of ancient astrology or Indian astrology or even Chinese astrology, although Chinese astrology doesn't use planets. If we exclude the modern schools, again, all authors will say 90% that it's Mercury. And of course, it's Mercury, as I explained. But with the houses, as you will see, the topic of my next video, there are some disagreements. Although it's let's say 60-70%. It's not 90%, but it's 60-70%. The astrologers say the same, but there are some disagreements. It also depending on whether it's ancient astrology or Indian astrology. This is actually the biggest difference, which house or houses are assigned to astrology. So this was it from me. I wanted to make a shorter video. If you're resonating with what you're doing, please subscribe, or if you would like a comment, if you have a comment or a question, I would appreciate it. And this is also my Rumble channel. I wish you good fortune, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.